Let's talk about Botox and the lack of informed consent. Stay tuned to this episode for more. Welcome back to the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube channel. Today, I am chatting with my dear friend, Dr. Rimka, about Botox, which can be one of those topics that's almost as polarizing as talking about coffee. But we really wanted to have this conversation because I think a lot of women really feel pressure to get Botox. And we wanted to talk about some of the downsides and some of the risks. And then we kind of spun off into a whole other conversation about aging and health. So, a lot here in this conversation. This is a live stream that I did over on Instagram on Thursday, August the 10th. So here's a replay for you. Before we jump into the video, I wanted to mention this video that I did the other day, got a lot of emails and messages about it. I am talking about my journey to getting my hormones back in balance, losing the postpartum baby weight, and feeling good and balanced with my hormones at age 44. And so I have a discount link for my 21-day leptin reset course. I typically do not discount that course unless it is Black Friday, but I'm offering that course at a discount. I'm going to do that for another 48 hours because I offered that discount link on this video. So if you want to watch that video, check it out. But I'm going to link it in the top comment here on this video as well. If you said, oh, I just saw the video and I missed the sale, I got a lot of emails like that. So check it out. It's going to be linked in this comment if you are interested in understanding some of these foundational lifestyle practices that I do to keep myself healthy at a good weight, sleeping well in my 40s, then check that out. And I know Dr. Rimka practices a lot of these things as well. So I hope you enjoy this chat with me and Dr. Rimka. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
All right. You hear me okay? I'm good. I have to make sure my stand is a little persnickety, so hopefully I'll be okay.
No problem.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I feel like this topic is just about as polarizing as talking about coffee. Like people get all up in arms about coffee, and this is probably a little bit worse. What do you think?
Well, on mine, I had a very positive response, and I really I really don't talk about it much, right? So it wasn't a thing I was as aware of, actually. Now, people who are outspoken about this commented, and they said, I get more blowback and more arguments and more polarizing comments from this than, some other really polarized other than at this point, I don't even know what I can say. I see some accounts and they say things, and I'm like, well, they're not getting in trouble, but I seem to get in trouble all the time. So I don't know. So I didn't have much, but again, it's not like a thing I'm out there waving the baton about. And so maybe I'll start to get some blowback. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's like, breast milk, breastfeeding, alcohol, water, water, like there's certain topics where like, oh, it's going to start a war right there if you talk about it. Because people are very invested in justifying whatever they're doing. We don't like to be wrong. We don't want to be made wrong no matter what. We want to, it's hard for us to admit a mistake sometimes. That's a big part of it. And especially if you've been suffering from something, this is used off-label. 2/3 of all Botox use is off-label, right? It's, non-FDA approved. Not that FDA approval means anything to me.
No.
Some people it matters, which means then they're using it in a lot of children.
For migraines,
excessive cerebral palsy. There are some real painful, difficult issues. Hyperhidrosis, that can debilitate some people socially. So I'm not trying to not have understanding and compassion for some real problematic things. So I can understand, I definitely understand those communities like, whoa, wait a minute, and wanting to push back, but it's the only thing that I get it, I do, right? I was just more speaking to our willingness to kill ourselves for beauty, really. We're willing to, it's gone to a point that is frightening, honestly, to me.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of pressure as you get older to look younger and to not have the wrinkles and to not have the age spots and all that stuff. And I actually got a email, like a DM from someone that said, "Oh, well, that's easy for Dr. Rimka to say because she's got more melanin in her skin than the rest of us. You know, what do you think? You're fair skinned." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 44. I don't feel like I don't look 44. You know, I'm not trying to not look 44. I'm trying to take care of my body from the inside out and just accept myself as I age and allow other women to feel like that's something that they can do because there are health risks." I mean, there's a comment in the chat that someone says, you know, they use Botox in their 20s for hyperhidrosis and it really messed them up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's like there are sometimes people are willing to say, I don't care about the risk. The quality of what this is doing to my life is so horrific. I'd rather this. Okay. You know, like I just want people to be informed of what we're doing to ourselves. Yeah. And if we don't create some pushback, the industry then isn't going to work harder to find better, safer alternatives and treatments and get to the root cause things, right? So, you know what I mean? So there's that.
Like informed consent as well. You know, that's what I'm all about.
It's a huge issue. Like if people understood, there's a black box warning. There's a very strong. The FDA is not trying to protect anybody.
Right.
Okay. If you have that illusion and delusion right now watching this, please understand. FDA approval means someone had deep pockets, a tremendous amount of money to pay the government to get something approved. That's what it means. So then it means you're going to pay a lot more money for that thing. So I understand the medical sales world, the devices, this is a big deal.
I tell everyone to go watch Dope Sick. I don't know if you've seen that on Hulu. Oh my gosh. Everyone, when we start talking about this topic with FDA approval, it's about the crisis with the opiate crisis and what happened in West Virginia and how they were able to push these opiate medications through. It was based on a paper. It was not even based on a study. It was pulled out of a medical journal, but all these medical reps were basically pushing it and selling it and saying how safe it was based on a little article out of a medical journal, got pushed through to the FDA, and all these people lined their pockets and got rich off of the opiate crisis. And it killed a ton of people. And got people addicted to
addicted on purpose.
Heroin.
It was, it's
terrible.
Yeah.
So that's one of the best documentaries, or it's like not really a documentary, it's like a little drama series, but I think it's one of the best that you can watch if you really want to understand how this thing works, how medications get approved, the kind of dirty stuff that goes on.
Aspartame, saccharin, none of these things would actually be approved if they were being evaluated properly. Real science, real studies, real results. Yeah. It all becomes a money wash exchange. And it's why I'm a part of protocols and companies and devices that very purposely go, we want nothing to do with FDA approval. And I'm not allowed to talk about a pretty significant portion of my treatment protocols publicly. People say, what's that device? None of your business. I can't tell you, because they don't want us talking about anything on social media. It can't be on my website. It is in private care or my private courses only that you're going to hear some of the deepest secrets. And shockingly, some of these devices are $200, $300. They're not even a big deal. And I'll say, well, this $250 thing, I go, it's equivalent to that $900 thing that's FDA approved. This $400 is equivalent to the $2,000 that's FDA approved. Right. You know, it's all a ridiculous whatever to scam insurance. You know, they're all in bed with each other with this ridiculous manipulation of checking off boxes and lying. It's why I've never taken health insurance, because it is already, you are admitting you're going to lie and fake things so you can get paid properly. Yeah. And I'm not playing that as a doctor, right? So it's a tough thing. So anyway, the FDA approval, it doesn't really mean anything. And Botox, let's go back to a few things. Having a black box warning, that only comes after there's been a tremendous amount of damage from a product in the market where it's so bad that they've got to kind of legally, CYA,
right?
Your butt, you know what I mean? And if you read that, I wish I should have printed it out. Maybe, when I repost this, we put it on YouTube, we actually pop that black box warning because it's letting you know. It's telling you this this can leave the injection site and you could get botulism. And basically you could have paralysis and can't swallow and die. And nobody can help you because we don't have a treatment, just so you know. And it's leaving, it's traveling, it damages nerves, it goes into your brain. It's always, every time you get a Botox injection, some of it is leaving site, crossing your blood-brain barrier, going into your brain, causing brain and nerve damage. Period.
Yeah.
Every single time. So imagine you're getting that every 6 months, every 4, I don't even know the schedule on some of these things, but what stunned me, it's not just 40 and 50 and 60-year-old women doing this. They've moved this into teens and 20-year-olds for beauty.
Yeah.
For beauty.
Yeah.
Like,
for preventative.
Yes.
Start getting it now in your late 20s, early 30s. It's preventative for aging.
Yeah. They're like, and women hear that and they think, oh, it must be like taking collagen or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. So I just didn't know it was that being marketed. That level of deception to the consumer is repugnant. And when's the last time a Botox injector asked that person before they injected him, well, have you had any other vaccines, any other injections? Did you get a flu vaccine? Did you get an mRNA experimental injection? This shit interacts with that.
Really?
And you are at higher risk if that's the case. Yeah. But are they asking? No, because you know why? Because it requires almost no training or certifications or anything to inject people with is perhaps arguably the most toxic substance known to humanity. There's a plant, believe it or not, a seed oil. I got to see if that thing is more toxic than this. I have to actually get the exact numbers. So I don't know but it's a 1 or a 2 probably. Let's say it's in the top 5, most lethal compounds. When you say a kilogram of a substance will kill 8 billion people. So if we exploded a kilogram of Botox all over the planet, it would kill everybody.
Wow.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. Do we really want to be injecting that into your body?
Right. So my concern, again, in the mental health space and brain health, and me trying to, my main, I think, mission, I hit a box on the ground or whatever, is mental health is brain health. And if anybody's working with you, if you have any mental distress of any sort, you need to understand that is your brain screaming to you, talking to you, telling me I'm not doing okay. This is why talk therapy is so ineffective for so many people, because they're not understanding the root cause issue, right? And a massive psychological trauma it changes the brain physically, right? So a child going through severe trauma, they have physiological changes. So I'm not saying we don't need to couple talk and skill asset and thinking and changing and other things like that, but if you're never addressing, which is what all talk therapy and psychiatrists, they don't address the actual structure and function of the brain. And if half these people think they're depressed because they're mad about their daddy, divorcing their mother or being an alcoholic. And I'm like, no, it's because you're 400 pounds and your brain is so inflamed, you can't even function.
Right.
Depression is brain inflammation. What if I could just fix that? And then next thing you know, you're like, oh, I don't really think I need to talk about that anymore. No, you actually don't. Because that wasn't the problem. But we didn't know what else to focus on because you have no ability to regulate your brain. So this is crossing the blood-brain barrier, deeply impacting. It's acetylcholine, right? Acetylcholine and dopamine. Those two are controlling muscle contraction, and they're causing a huge change in what's going on there. Well, that's memory and learning. acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is also the ability to fall in, you feel it's explosive when you fall in love. It does a lot what oxytocin does. Serotonin is happiness and staying married to people. You don't have enough serotonin, you don't stay married to people. It's the ability to stay present, feel good.
Yeah.
It also, it affects GABA and glutamate. GABA is the peacemaker. GABA keeps you calm. GABA and glutamate have a beautiful relationship. GABA doesn't do well. Glutamate gets too high. Now we have brain destruction, nerve cell destruction. Huge in the autism community.
Yeah.
We're always balancing those two out. So we have acetylcholine, dopamine, GABA and glutamate, receptor damage, destruction. So can we see why this would cause anxiety, depression, and learning issues in people after they've been doing it? And like the ear tinnitus and deafness issue off the charts lately. And I did not put this together until recently, like, oh my God, because I'm seeing so much tinnitus. I've never seen this.
I've actually seen it too.
It's off the charts. I've dealt with tinnitus for a long time in practice. It's always been a toxicity issue to me. If I handle the toxicity, we usually clear it up. And there's been these weird things. The first thing I always do is take away dairy. I know I have a zinc deficiency. I run labs. There's different things we have to do. Red light therapy, all the same kind of biohacking stuff I do. But we get a little specific. But it's been a bit of a mystery to me at times. I don't really know why, but let's deal with it. Now, with the level of Botox that's been going on, I have not asked my patients about Botox. This has not been my standard of care intake question. So I've been missing something for quite a few years because I would have never thought in a million years 25 and 35-year-olds were getting Botox. I didn't even think to ask that question. You know what I mean? And even I didn't ask it much in the 50 and 60-year-olds. I don't live in a world like that you get Botox.
Right.
Nobody I know does it. I hang out with a bunch of crunchy granola people, and we don't do that. So, oops. So my bad. Now, tinnitus is off the charts. I don't know. The mRNA experimental injection must be involved because everybody's tinnitus. It's so much more than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the two stacking on top of each other. I don't really know, but toxicity in general, I don't know what they're spraying in the air at us. I don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
But Botox is implied. It has very big brain implications for anxiety and depression and learning and memory, all the things that are, devastating society right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is one of those things that has been involved, but I don't think most of us are looking at that and thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty ahead of the curve. And I missed it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like, I heard someone say the other day, it's like 1 in every 4 women over the age of 30 has started getting it now.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. It's that common because you can get it. Some gynecologists are doing it now. Because like you said, all you have to do to get certified to inject it is go to like a little seminar.
Seminar typically, not a big deal.
$100 or something, and then boom, you can inject it in people in your practice. You don't have to be a dermatologist.
You don't have to be, you don't have to be a nurse. You don't have to, I'm not sure, I have to look it up, but you don't have to do much, which, okay, I get it's not a big deal to do this, but it's the lack of the ability of full disclosure and informed consent. So if you aren't really knowing how to take care of patients, not that I think dermatologists or and also I do that, but at least they were trained that they're supposed
they're trained about skin.
Yeah, they're supposed to do first, do no harm,
Yeah.
With talking about like that brain, the mental health issue, in that one video I rattled off some self-harm statistics of young girls, self-mutilation or attempting suicide and not being successful, and then the suicide rates, which have gone up tremendously. And that was from the American Journal of Epidemiology of the 2017 study. And it was just looking at like social media and implications of like what's going on, right? So it's a really the pressure to be beautiful, or the way we're comparing ourselves and the fakeness of everything, of how nothing's really real, and the filters and the whatever. Like my son recently, he's in high school, and he showed me over the summer we were somewhere and he goes, oh, Mom, but she doesn't look like this. What are you talking about? She doesn't look like that. And he goes, look, the girl's in a high school. He goes, let me show you her Snapchat or whatever it was. And I went, that's that girl? He's like, exactly. Look how fake it all is. He goes, look at it, look at it. She goes, oh, it's all the filters and all the stuff. He's like, because I don't even know why they do that. Because it doesn't even look better. So I really do like that some of these young kids are like, we don't want any part of the fake. We don't like makeup. We don't like, you know, and then you have the other extreme that want to look like anime cartoon characters that, you know, are doing, I don't even understand. And then every other filter and injections and just these extreme, like you don't look human. And it's, to me, this is one of these other steps towards that transhumanism, you know, state of artificial, of injecting and implants and devices and microchips, and we can make you better and you'll live forever because we can put a chip here and do that and manipulate your DNA, and your kids can all be blonde hair, blue eyed, and 6'5" basketball players, because you know that's where it's going. You know, and why don't we just sterilize all of you that have bad genetics? See that you keep playing the genetic story. So, well, you have, we'll just, you know, and they tried it. They've done this. They've done this to Black people. They've done it to Down syndrome, special. They've been doing this. The government has been doing these things a long time. That's why we have lawsuits. They're disgusting. So don't think they're not coming for you to do this. So anyway, talking about the suicide rate, and you realize women, I'm 50, right? You're 44, you said? So women, the highest suicide rate age for women is 45 to 55. So this is the age range where, you know, if a woman's going to kill herself, it happens in that time, because there's a lot going on in that age range, right? We have dramatic changes in hormones often, right? And if a woman, you're either going to have a rebirth, right? You're going to have a moment where either you've been a caterpillar and you finally realize, no, I'm actually the butterfly, or you really do emerge. You're like, well, I've been a butterfly, but oh, shit, wait a minute, I'm about to become a sequins, bedazzled, diamond stuttered thing, or it's depression and pain and misery and
I mean, like I said, there's so much pressure to look younger.
So much. That age range.
You don't want to look old. You don't want to age. And I feel like I've been trying to talk more and more about this. We just talk about how as you get older, everything's going to suffer. You're going to feel bad. And you know what? If you take crap care of yourself, if you have a crappy diet and you don't have a good lifestyle, you will feel bad. And I do see it often. And I know you do too, women gaining weight.
Well, I think there's a part of it that needs to be talked about, also how much you're betraying yourself. Sometimes women take really good care of themselves, but there comes a point around 50, they might realize, they look at their life like, what about me? I have in that sense of, I've betrayed myself because I pushed away the drive to know thyself because I wanted to take care of, you know, my husband and the children and my mother and my father, and I wanted to be the good daughter, the good wife, the good mother, the good Pinterest, the good this, the whatever, people pleasing, and the over nurturing to the point it's like martyrdom, and you're self-sacrificing, which is revered and honored in our culture, actually, for a woman to do that and push herself into the ground, right? And then when she finally might put her foot down because she's gone inside of herself, and she might say, wait a minute, I deserve to put the oxygen mask on myself. I deserve some love and attention. And I realize I've settled for something. This is a subpar quality life, and I want more. I want more. And what they're choosing is themselves and more, not rejecting who's around them, but like, I want more. So in that, maybe the people around them will be with them, and maybe it won't. So if you're a 50-some-year-old woman who's been married for 20, 30 years, and you're suddenly like, wow, I haven't had, you know, we haven't made love in 10 years. We haven't done this. I mean, this is common, right? And it's
very common.
Right? So we just have this, you're living like half a life. Well, that not having sex with your spouse will lower all your hormones. You're going to drop them in self-preservation simply to not be having affairs. I mean, that's what's going to happen as a way of a protective mechanism. And you know, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. That's a real thing. So I'm just saying there's a lot that goes into it, right? Sometimes not just taking care of yourself with food and exercise. There's emotional care, and there's truth and integrity with who you really are and everybody in your life. So there's a lot that goes into it, right? Because I really, you know me, you've known me a long time. I get tired of just talking about food and
we both do.
And even like lights and the sound and all the electromagnetic stuff that I've been doing 15 years. You know, that's just another nutrient tool to help heal. But if we don't deal with the emotional dis-ease and spiritual dis-ease and disconnection from source self, we got a big problem.
Agree.
And it all, you know, often you fix that and everything, it just explodes everything in the matrix, and it all, you know, deals with itself. So we're in a strange space, speaking of the matrix, of what we see and what is being put upon us as expectations. And trust me, Sarah, I have some gray hairs, and it freaks me out a little bit. I see the things and I'm like, oh God, it is happening, you know?
Oh, I know. I mean,
totally. I'm not in the embracing of the wrinkles yet. I know some women are. They're like, oh my God, it tells a story. I'm like, yeah. I like my scars. I do. And so I get it. Like, I like scars. I have like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's when I did this. That's when I did that. They make me feel strong. I have a story about them. And I've just transitioned into, you know, I gained, I don't know, about 85 pounds pregnant or something like that. We stopped measuring at a certain point, but I gained a lot of weight. So 85 some pounds or so when I was pregnant. It was very large. It took many, many years. I didn't lose a single pound really until my son was like 3.5. I didn't even care. I breastfed him till he was 3, and he didn't sleep very much. So until he slept and I slept, there was no point in even trying. Who cares? So then it started coming off. Well, I have a lot of skin. You know, there's a lot of excess skin. And I just never, I kind of like, but recently in the 50 thing, I actually love it. My stomach, like in a bikini and stuff, and I'm like, all I have to do is scrunch a little. I'm like, oh, there it is, and you can see all of it coming, you know. And I'm like, I actually kind of like, it makes me feel like a badass. And, you know, it's a weird feeling. I'm like, oh, is this what women feel like about their face and their gray hair? You know, like, oh, that must be the same thing. So I think we all can identify with a thing where I'm like, well, if I had a magic wand, I'd like to fix my boobs and my stomach. But I'm not going to cut it open. So it is what it is. And so better to try and find a way to love it. Right.
I think that's the key, is finding the way to love your body, your skin, the wrinkles. I mean, I definitely don't love seeing new wrinkles, and it is what it is though. And I'm not willing to, I have fought like hell for my mental health. You know, I had horrible depression, horrible anxiety, was put on 5 or 6 different medications when I was 14, and didn't get off of those until I was in my mid-30s. And I was horribly addicted to all these medications for sleep, for anxiety, for depression. It's horrible. And so, yeah, I'm going to get some wrinkles. I'm going to age. It is what it is. But I'm not willing to put myself into a situation where I'm going to risk my mental health and I'm going to risk my physical health so that I can have less wrinkles and maybe look more like one of these Snapchat filters. I'm just not willing to do it. And I feel like we need to have this conversation for more women to have permission to not look like the freaking Snapchat filter and feel like they even need to. You know, it's so important to just make women feel like more comfortable in the skin that they're in, you know? And understanding the risks too, because I know it's a neurotoxin, it's dangerous. So we could talk about the mental health side, the physical health side. You could face paralysis, you know, and I always think about the water network in our body, how we have this quantum communication in the body, and then you're injecting with Botox and fillers, you're stopping that quantum communication in the body. There's so many things that happen in our body that we don't even understand. You know, even the smartest doctors and quantum physicists don't understand.
Yeah.
It's a
I don't think
magnificent.
anybody will be able to understand what this is doing. I mean,
Right.
we're never going to understand the nature of all of it. But it's clearly, I mean, when you look at, well, look how much damage oxalates, which are these naturally occurring plant crystals, can do to a mitochondria.
Yeah.
And then destroying the, its ability to create, structured water and detoxify and protect itself.
Right.
If that can do this, and people are pounding spinach smoothies like it's, ugh, please stop eating spinach for the love of everything that's holy, you guys. That stuff should be banned. there should be a black box warning on spinach. So I don't think we're ever going to know. But what we do know, what is reported, right, to the FDA, right? So it's not theirs, but it kind of is adverse, events. So that's theirs is the vaccine adverse event reaction self-reporting, which to me should be criminal. That is self-reporting. It should be required by every physician who ever hears somebody say, we had a reaction. It should be an instantaneous must require you,
you have to go do it yourself.
You have to do it yourself, and they discourage you. So it's estimated.
They make it hard too.
Yeah, anywhere between 1 to 10% is reported correctly. It's not some are reported at a 1% rate, some are reported at a higher, so each, vaccine has a little bit different accuracy. Well, there's a reporting scale for the Botox. It's a part of that whole process. And I'm going to tell you some of the numbers, right? This is what we know. So in 2000, this is 2022, right?
Yeah.
And for up to that point, here we are, in a total of 60,000 cases reported right there. There were, 8,900 serious cases that they were considered as a serious problem. They're going to pretty much have like Gulf War syndrome. It's very identical to that. They're going to be messed up for life. And 903 death cases from it. Okay.
Wow.
Now, the FDA says themselves that roughly 1 to 10% of reality is reported here.
Oh, yeah.
So the real number should be something like 6 million total cases of adverse Botox reactions, almost 900,000 seriously damaged people, neurological damage for life, their quality of life, they might be disability, and 90,300 deaths.
Wow.
Okay. So when you look at that could be the actual numbers, because we all know death certificates are not reported accurately. They're not labeled what actually is, because remember, medical error doesn't even exist as a category.
Right.
That's not even allowed to be put. That's why the study that came out of Johns Hopkins showed, oh shit, we should start tracking this, because it turns out if we did, medical error is the third leading cause of death in America. Should we start tracking it on the birth certificate? Don't you think?
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet.
No.
But that's the truth, right? So the lack of reporting, the lack of accurately calling it something, because, they could just call it, oh, they have this, or, I wouldn't be surprised if they were calling some of these botulism cases polio.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, they're just going to say, oh, well, now it's fibromyalgia.
Right.
Oh, now you have MS.
Fibromyalgia is a huge one that people are getting.
Like they're going to call it, we don't know.
It's a bullshit term. It's like eczema or autism.
Well, fibromyalgia is a very descriptive term, but it's not, it's dismissing the severity.
Exactly.
The European term, myalgic encephalitis, or, ME, I butchered it, is much more descriptive, and it actually makes it sound, that's chronic fatigue, I'm sorry. It makes it sound not so like, well, you just have pain in your muscles, or you're just tired all the time.
Right.
Well, okay, it's not actually a disease. You're right, they're not a disease, but it's a name for a very serious
name for a bunch of
symptoms.
Exactly.
That could be caused by just a whole bunch of toxicity, poor methylation, basically poisoning people to death.
Exactly.
And that's what it really is.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's backwards. And again, like you and I are all about informed consent, and there is no informed consent when you go to get some Botox. It's just like, hey, this is going to make you feel better, and it's so normalized, you know.
I mean, they do party. I just didn't.
Botox parties.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a huge
You can
one.
do. We're doing a big thing, and injection party. Bring a friend. It's only $30, and you know, champagne, alcohol's often given. I mean, ladies, if you want to be worried about aging, stop smoking and drinking.
Right.
I mean,
oh, that's another one.
Nobody looking older than a Bud Light, you know, and some cigarettes. You're like, damn, is she 800 years old? No, she's 48. Well, wow, she don't look good. You know why? Yeah, I have more melanin, but I also never smoke.
Right.
I do drink a little alcohol, but you know, there's things. Oh yeah, I need to get it together. You know, there's some things that, like, you know, of course, there's going to be some slight genetic whatever, you know, that I have. People with more melanin, absolutely, we age better, so to speak. Well, you know what? I could give you some peptides, and I can raise all of your melanin. And you know what else raises melanin? Get your ass in the sun.
Exactly. Go lay out.
You go and get the free stuff, but you believe the con that the sun is going to kill you, and now you screw yourself, and you keep lowering your melanin for decades. You can make it yourself, and I can give you a couple peptides to help you do it too, and make it even better. You know, melanin is a great protector of things. So yeah, they've aligned it up on purpose. The sun will give you cancer, so let's Botox the living shit out of you.
Right.
What?
Yeah, I've heard that some dermatologists are telling people in their early 20s, and someone in the chat said earlier, even teens now in LA, dermatologists are saying to do it as preventative for wrinkles, but they tell people to stay out of the sun. You know, it's like,
I see it all the time. I even see it. I see stay out of the sun out of even people that I think are pretty informed.
Oh, me too.
Know, kind of natural,
and wear sunglasses. Yeah.
It's like, okay, no, you know what I mean? Well, but when I burn, why? I'm like, well,
because you don't have a solar callus, and you have circadian rhythms.
Right. It's like if you walked barefoot and you never did, you're gonna get calluses, blisters too, boo boo. Now, if we did a little bit of that every day, you could be like the Kenyans too, and you'd have thick calluses, and you wouldn't get blisters. Right. They run and they're fine,
right?
You know, but that didn't happen by getting on a plane and flying, you know, outside of nature and being extremely exposed at the equator. Of course, when I tell people, well, of course, don't be dumb, dummy. If your little face goes to Puerto Rico in January, I'd be like, girl, let's make sure we're smart. Make sure you have shade. Make sure you do whatever you might. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you don't want to burn. And yeah, you're going to have to be in the sun a little bit less than me, most likely. But even I could burn in Puerto Rico in January because I'm out of sync with time and light. It doesn't make any sense to my system. Right. It's not ready to do that. Right.
Right.
So like, this is just some basic, simple stuff. But the reality is, common sense has been stolen from us because they've tricked us into thinking nature is out to get us.
It's dangerous. Yeah, exactly. The way that we got here was nature. We lived outdoors.
Birth is dirty. Clearly, the vagina doesn't know what it's doing. Clearly, breasts make dirty things, and you need to have the Nestle powder crap. I mean, I can't even believe that conversation. We should do a breast milk conversation because I found the most venom there.
Oh gosh.
When I say, well, breast milk is superior to anything.
Yep.
Ooh, man, the women come out for me.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It's aggressive. Yep. You know, they're kind of like on scale with a vegan.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, get it together. You need to go, you know, do some tapping or something. Put it down.
Well, people are just super polarized on social media regardless. And anytime you talk about something where someone has to work harder, you know, someone has to do something that's outside of their comfort zone, people get offended. And it you know, just going through the experience myself, it is not convenient to breastfeed. It is not easy. It is exhausting on your body. It does tap out your minerals. You know, it's not the easy thing to do. And so I think a lot of women, they get very polarized and they get very upset because it was fucking hard and it kicked their butt, excuse my language, and they threw in the towel. And I mean, I understand, but we have to know that that's not going to be the healthiest thing for the baby necessarily.
Just tell the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, it's like, well, we can say, me saying, well, breast milk is far superior to any other source for a human baby on earth.
Yep.
That's not shaming anybody for their choice.
No, but people take it as shaming.
They
just
do.
like
they
talk about
that's not
Botox.
my they need to that's an unevolved, emotionally, psychologically immature person that needs to work on themselves. Right. I can't, them projecting onto me is not my problem. And you don't need to announce yourself when you leave. Right. Goodbye. Nobody cares.
Right.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Right. And because I'm only here to help the people who are ready to hear it.
Exactly.
I'm not coming in, I'm not pulling you out of the swamp or the quicksand. You want to go ahead. Yeah. I'm not going to fight you. You're going to bite me while I'm trying to save you? I don't think so. I'll do that for a child or a wounded animal, not a grown ass person. Okay. But, you know, it's no different to me. Same thing happens if I dare to say, well, it's much healthier. Black and white, I don't care what you say. 20% body fat woman is significantly healthier than a 50% body fat woman. Done and done. Yeah. You can come up with any magical thinking you ever want and the Lizzo effect or whatever you want to think. You are wrong. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Some of these things are what they are. Am I body shaming? Am I fat shaming? No, that's just how it is. That's like, to me, as black and white as a hemoglobin A1C of 4.8 is healthier than one of 6.9. Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about here? Right. Done. Exactly. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's important to keep throwing this kind of stuff out there. And, you know, we're not trying to come down on anyone, make anyone feel bad. We just want people to understand the risks of these things. What's done is done. Right. I want people to, when you do it, like you said, look, I was on psych meds. I did what I did. Yeah. I mean, you've talked about your story with alcohol. I've talked about, you know, we've done things. I mean, I did weed and alcohol before, you know, I grew up in the 80s, man. We were drinking at 9 and 10 years old. Yeah. Like everybody's older brothers and sisters was giving us drinks. Yeah. Like it was like, this is the 80s. Yeah. You know, I'm a what am I, Gen X? Gen X was like, I'm Gen X by like 6 months. Give me a beer and I'll give me my mom's car because we were like 12. We're like, okay, I'll just take the car. Yeah. No, we don't need a lesson. We're good. Literally, we were ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not saying I didn't do dumb things. I was pounding Tylenol like it was Tic Tacs all through high school and college because of sports. Yeah. You know, even the chiropractor kept telling me not to, and I didn't understand what I was doing to myself. Yeah. And then finally, I'm like, oh boy, okay, you were right. I got it. Yeah. You know, but hey, you know, you do what you do. I was a vegan for 12 years. Yeah. I feel like I'm still recovering from that half the time because I have to take a lot of supplements and do a lot of things. Why? Well, when you're a vegetarian for 14 years in your developmental years, like 18, 19 to 30, which is what I did, I messed up a lot of stuff. Yeah. Then I got pregnant. That was hard. Yeah. And then I got mold illness. You know, like that was even harder. So there was a very concerted destruction of my nervous system. Yeah. Right. Based on I starved myself for years and stuff like that, and hormones depleted and all this kind of stuff. Right. So like, oh yeah, I may have a little bit more that I have to do for the rest of my life, maybe, and that's okay. Just like you do. Like you're like, there's these things. This is my chemistry. I have to make sure I do this. You know, if I hadn't started meditating 25 years ago, I don't even know where I'd be. Oh, yeah. You know? I mean, yeah, prayer and meditation gets me through some of the hardest things. You know, I talk about light and water and food and all the things that I do, but those two things are essential. If I don't have that conscious contact daily, I'm in trouble. You know, if I wake up and if I have a tough situation I'm going through, you better believe I'm praying my ass off, you know, and meditating and again, making conscious contact. That's so important. And like you said, you know, because I know I have a group with a lot of women that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and that's the same kind of group of women that come to you.
we give you all the stuff about how to eat, how to live, all this stuff. But if you're not dealing with that spiritual side, if you're not dealing with the trauma, if you're not dealing with your body on that somatic level, that can be a huge block to healing. Huge block, you know. And
the nervous system, regulation is number one. You know, for me, spirituality is governed through the nervous system. I do very big, long lectures on this, and I get into the whole neurology of spirituality. And that's like the foundation of why psychedelic have, you know, these plant teachers and guides have come along and are getting so loud right now. It's because consciousness healthcare or consciousness medicine is trying to rise, and people that just so far beyond. I hate when people say I do functional medicine now, because I'm like, functional medicine is so outdated.
I think it's dysfunctional medicine.
I mean, I'm happy someone's trying to do that versus other things. Don't get me wrong, right? But then it's really like, then it's more like it's foundational, you know, healthcare. And then we have even deeper, it's consciousness, right? And I'm considering how I'm going to change things and lead with all of it. It's like, well, I don't want to people keep talking about it. I'm like, you know, I don't actually just do that, right? And sometimes it's hard. I'll have like arguments-ish. I've worked with a patient for like a year. I'm finally like, I don't know how to keep telling you this. This has nothing to do with supplements. We don't need to take, I'm like, and it'll literally be, they'll be seeing me, and I want to get into the emotions and the trauma and deal with the dad's abuse, the drug abuse, the alcoholism. Well, don't you think that like, when literally nothing we're doing, it doesn't work. I'm like, it's interesting how nothing works on you compared to everybody else, because we're refusing to see the thing. Running all the lab. You don't have a gut infection. You don't have this. You don't have, look at it. You keep running the numbers. You're not hypoglycemic. You're not this, right? Then they go off and they chase this person on Instagram, and they chase this person and what about this? Well, what about this? What about this? What about we get back to the actual problem that you don't want to face, your buried anger and resentment that you don't want to acknowledge, that I've been telling you for a year. Oh, I go, you don't need a liver flush. You need an emotional flush. And to deal with it.
We're so conditioned to like take something, ingest something, put it in your body.
Those can help. You know, we have to this and that. Let me just say this, and I'm going to get going because I got patience. For the women, I'm not really catching all the comments, but like when you said, like, yes, I do this and I work on the water and I work on the light and it's work and it's work. Okay, let's back up. Being healthy is your divine birthright. People, the reason any of us are not right now, and it seems like Sarah and I, like, sometimes people all have like on the table all these brain devices or different things. They're like, oh God, I'm not doing all that. So, well, first of all, I own 50 of them because I rent them out to patients, or I use that, like, duh, I'm doing 10 patients at a time on neurofeedback. So that's why I have so many units. Like, I'm not putting them all on myself. It's my living, it's my profession. But the reason it seems like so much work is because we live so far from nature. We've used our ability of technology to be so comfortable and have so much convenience that we have to do more work to get back to where we came from. That's why. So I'm like, oh, well, so it's like this blend. Now, some people pick it up and they're like, screw it. And they go move to the jungle. And boy, do they get healthy. Or they go move to a farm. They're like, we're off grid. And they're at a well and they're milking cows and they're getting chickens and their kids are running around on little tractors. And boy, is everybody healthy as hell. Asthma goes away and psoriasis is gone and nobody's anxious and depressed and suicidal anymore. Shocking, right? Because they're not involved in this crap, right? But if you can't do that, this is what we do. We take the ancient wisdom. It's what I basically try. What are these ancient, the laws of nature and the gifts of light, sound, frequency of where it all originates, and take technology and how can we couple this in such a way where you can live in your big, beautiful house and have the internet and have air conditioning and yet not be destroying the structure of your water and your fascia and your ability to communicate and be connected to self-source anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to move off grid and have a farm. I mean, maybe one day I'll be able to do that, but most people can't. A lot of people that are listening to this, they're like,
some people don't want to. My mother, that terrifies her. When we drive by farms, she's like, that would be my worst nightmare in hell. To be isolated, it terrifies her. Like, she wants to be with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And so, living in these congested cities with all of those frequencies and the disconnection of light and sound to yourself, that's always making you speed up too much and have way too much inflammation and way too much stirring, and you're picking up everybody's shit, by the way. You're an antenna. That's hard on the system. But for my mother, the idea of going off to some country, being away, she's like, that would be a living hell. She literally would be afraid of people coming in to kill her all the time. I mean, like people of color. We have a thing. We think people, like everybody in the country, is going to eat you like Dahmer. We're like, we're not going to the woods. That's where the crazy people are. They're going to eat you. You know what I mean? Like, we don't camp. You're like, we don't camp. We're not doing that. Literally, the first few times I camped, I was like, I'm not doing any of this. Everybody was, I'm like, aren't you guys afraid? Like, it's just like, this is all there is, and I don't have a gun. I don't like this. I'm very uncomfortable right now, right? So, but that's where we are, and there's nobody more disconnected from nature than a vegan, and so I was caught in that for a super long time.
Yeah.
I've had to unlearn so much. And I'm grateful I did. And I magically have a son that was clearly brought to me as a gift to help heal me, even though he goes through some tough stuff sometimes, because he's so connected to nature.
Yeah.
He just wants to sleep outside, be outside. He don't, any of it. And I remember once he said to me when he was 12, I know you think I'm crazy that I like, and I said, nah, I said, stop you right here. I said, I think you're gifted. Yeah. I think you are more connected to everything. And I think you're here to teach me. So please, I just don't know what you know.
Yeah.
I don't, so like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. And it can be like, yeah, Mom, when we go camping, can you stop bringing the down comforters? Like, but they're so much more comfortable. So yeah, so that's where it really comes down to, right? And so it's not as hard as you guys think if you start listening. It's hard to listen to yourself when you're being bombarded by technology. Yeah. So try to get out and find somewhere there's some nature. Even in the middle of New York City, you got Central Park, like go be there, and you'll hear things differently. Yeah. Right.
I mean, one of the things I do, and I live in the city, I literally go lay on the ground outside. Yeah, just lay on the cement, because you can still ground on cement, So I literally will go lay on the cement out of my driveway when I've been on Zoom too much, or I've been on my phone too much. I'm like, I need to, and that's instinctively what my body wants to do.
Yeah, and getting in the sun between every Zoom, every patient. I told you, I need to be 10 minutes late, because I'm like, I needed to have some structured water.
Yeah.
Go outside and pee, and it was a very brief reset. Sometimes I don't get it a long time, but I have grounding thing. I use all the earthing mats everywhere.
The mats.
I'm trying to do the best I can, but the more you can just do these slight little discharge of static off of you and then go back to it, it makes a huge difference. Yeah. My concern is we have actually altered the ley line of the earth. So, me standing on my front lawn isn't quite like it used to be.
I know.
I'm not actually,
that's
but we do the best we can.
The rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is. It is. But anyway, so let me just say this, for more information, I am no Botox expert. I'm intrigued. I had my mind blown 6 months ago at a Cell Core conference with one of the guest speakers, and her name is, I wanted people to know, Diane Kazer, Kazer. She wrote a book called Killer Breasts. And I forget her, I think her handle might just be Diane Kazer. I've tagged her before, maybe we'll tag her. She speaks about this tremendously, and it was her lecture that I didn't even want to be in. I was going to go out and test the device or test the machinery, because at conferences you got to buy stuff, and you're like, you got to finagle. I can't see everything because I want to talk to a vendor and try something. Yeah, Diane Kaiser, she's there. Brilliant. I mean, I was awestruck and stunned at everything she was saying. And just most of the room was like, I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know it was this bad.
Wow.
It's that bad? I mean, I said, wow, okay. Well, I think I had like an appointment. I'm like, I don't care. This was too good. You blew my mind. Yeah. I'm like, and she has actually a documentary she did or whatever. But for more information, she's really good. There's several other websites. So if you start following her, you can learn more. I'm sure, she's got more information than I do and can rattle off all the stuff. But I'm intrigued to know, it was more the conversation of this is what we've come to. That little girls, this young, this is how much we're being taught to hate ourselves. And it's a whole other conversation of what do you think that's telling your children about you and beauty and what matters and,
Absolutely. I think about it a lot with my son. It's like, I don't want him growing up thinking like women are supposed to be shooting their faces up and caking on all the makeup. And I don't want him to think that that's something attractive or beautiful or desirable. I hope that I can raise him to see what true beauty in people actually is. It's not this exterior that we've been led to believe, Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, it's awesome. Hopefully people got a lot out of it, and I'll post it on YouTube as well if people want to watch the replay, and I'll keep it up on my profile too. So.
And so I guess my staff can download or you can send it or we'll do something so I can post it.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.